Good morning, everyone. So let's move on to a new topic, which is 2.8a. What was law and order like during the 18th and 19th century? So, how did the law and order change? So, let's look at a few pictures over there. You see the first picture where a man is sitting silently in a cell. Okay, he's been isolated. The second picture above shows an officer with two prisoners. And the third picture above shows the prisoners going to individual cells. And the last picture is where they are actually tied up, their hands are tied up, and the officers are down there looking at the prisoners. Right? So, do you get the picture? What was the prison life during those days? Okay, it is not like how we have it today, where our prisoners, okay, our people, our fellow cell people in the prisons, they actually work for us, okay, they do hard jobs too, but they also have good education. Okay, they are not tortured by the officers, but here they are actually tortured during the 18th and 19th century. Okay, have you ever done this before? When you go to a supermarket or you go to a grocery store and you see like grapes, you see apples, maybe you see peaches, okay? What you do is you just pick one tiny fruit of it and then you just pop it into your mouth. Have you ever done that before? Be honest, guys, to yourself, okay? Be very honest. Have you ever done that? Have your parents done that? Have you seen your parents doing it and you were like, hey, mom, don't do that? Okay, so it was actually a big no-no in 2007. Okay, in 2007, a woman was arrested for eating grapes that she had not paid in the supermarket, but later was released without any charges. So this is an example of the lady there. Okay, just imagine that's the lady who went to the supermarket and picked up one tiny grape and then she popped it into her mouth. Okay, and then she was arrested by the police. Okay, but think about it. How would the police have pressed charges? What could be the punishment? If at all the police decided to punish her, what kind of punishment would it be? All right, so you just write in a piece of paper, what do you think would the punishment be? Have you guys ever realized or noticed this? Okay, when you go to a supermarket, especially like Aeon, Tesco, Paxson, okay, when you go to this milk area, a milk product section, okay, baby milk, okay, it can be for milk for adults or even for babies, okay, there's always a sign, a notice, okay, like a warning sign to fellow customers over there, okay, beware, do not steal milk. And do you see all this alarm system that are actually attached to the powder, the bag? Okay, so the reason why they do this is because it is insufficient. Okay, like baby milk, milk products, especially milk products for babies, okay, during this century, yeah, it is limited and very expensive, right? You have seen the low quality and with a low price, but the high quality with a high price. So that's the reason why they actually do not just, they don't just allow you to sell that. They have a price for it. And in order to actually curb the situation, they will impose alarms. All right. So this is what happened during the 18th and 19th century. Punishments were imposed to anyone who stole food during that century because food was insufficient during the time, and in order to curb the situation, charges were pressed to those who steal food. Like how the lady with the grapes, okay, she was actually supposed to be charged, but because she maybe took only one tiny piece, they were not able to charge her. If she took the whole bunch of grapes, yes, she would have been charged. Okay, so activity one, draw the convict chain that begins in page 118 and then crosses over to page 119 in your exercise book or a piece of paper. You can find the convict chain in page 118 and 119, guys. Okay, so please draw that out, including the year and what happened. All right, guys, so public executions. Okay, public executions is where people hang, okay, hang people who are actually pressed with charges publicly. Okay, that is what we call public execution. We have executions even until now. Our Malaysian government only impose executions, okay, for rape, okay, for rapists, for murdering, okay, like serial murder. Do you guys know what is serial murder? That means he has like a team, okay, where he finishes here and then he kills this is actually a series. Okay, so they have executions for this kind of crimes, very brutal crimes. They would have executions, but we don't have public executions. Okay, we don't get to witness all this. But during the 18th 19th century, people, normal people, community citizens, okay, netizens, they are able to witness it with their eyes. And when they are witnessing this, it's actually like a festival. Okay, it's actually like a festival. So in that festival, they would actually set up food stalls. They would set up stage plays, shows. Okay, so that people, poorer people especially for this year, they would come miles away to witness this and to have fun. Okay, it was actually a fun thing for the others. Okay, so that could be the reason why public executions were like, okay, it was just like another form of punishment. It wasn't really painful, it wasn't really scary. Okay, so public executions were like, okay, in one day there would be two or three public executions. Okay, so it wasn't that much of impact to the citizens there, so they took it for granted. Okay, so during these festivals, as usual, they had thieves and they had pickpocketers. Okay, so in activity 2, if you look below there, in your opinion, do you think public executions are brutal or vital? State one reason. This opinion is based on now, okay, during this century. You're in the 20th century, correct? So what do you think about public execution? Whether it is a good thing, is it important that they have public execution? Hanging people in public, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Okay, you state one reason for this. Okay, now away with public execution, they came up with prisons because they were thinking that, like I said before, public executions were just becoming a very general thing and a norm, and people were not actually afraid of it. Okay, so they brought up a system of prison. Prison was a system that even existed, okay, during the 13th century, but it was not that effective. People were not actually paying much attention to prisons, okay, because the system was poor. Why was the system poor? Because people who were convicted with crimes, they were pushed to the prison and they were made to do hard labor and boring jobs. Hard labor is always like moving stones, breaking bricks for construction, okay, those kind of jobs. So it wasn't actually a form of punishment during the 13th century. But when they came into 18th and 19th century, they thought to improvise the prison. They want to make it better. They want to make it a place where people who commit crimes to come and reflect. Okay, so that is how the government brought few changes to the current prison, where they changed the term of humiliation to rehabilitation, because humiliation is more like hard labor and boring jobs, correct? Where the officers would humiliate them and they have to do the job, okay? So that is the phenomena, that is the environment. But now they have changed it into rehabilitation. Rehabilitation means like reflecting. It's a time of reflection on what crimes you have done, how you can overcome it, how you can change yourself. Okay, and then they brought about two systems. The first one is separate system, where prisoners lived in single cells. Okay, they live in single cells. They are able to communicate with the other cell members when they have their break time. Okay, so they are actually living in single cells to reflect on their crimes, on what they have done. The next one, the second one, is silent system. Now, this silent system is for the crimes that are uh, quite overages or quite bad. Okay, like raping, murder, treason. Okay, so isolation. Prisoners or people will be put into they will isolate them, where they are not allowed to actually communicate with any of the other prisoners. Okay, so this one is for basically for a very hard reflection. And the second thing was so that they won't pass any tips to the other prisoners of how to escape from the prison. All right. So as years passed, sentences reduced for particular crimes, which enabled prisoners to go back after their sentences. Like how during the 13th and 15th century, if you steal one grape, you will be convicted with 10 years of isolation in the prison. But now, as the years goes by, they felt that the stealing crime is actually a little bit okay compared to the raping. So what they did is, for anyone who steals, they will give them only 2 years of prison life. So they are able to go back after 2 years. Okay. Then in order to educate them, in order to bring the goodness from them, schools were also set up to educate them. Okay, schools were set up. So now, even now, we have in Malaysia, we have juvenile. Okay, juvenile is for kids. Okay, we have libraries, we have schools, we have teachers going in and out, we have religious, like we have pastors, we have priests, we have the Buddhist monk, we have the Muslim imams who goes into the prison, and they have their own religious time for that. Okay, for juvenile and for also the big prisons. Okay, prisoners. Okay, that is how in Malaysia. The only thing is that they are not able to live a normal life like a normal human being in Malaysia. All right. So in activity 3, what I want you to do is, do you think it was advisable to keep the separate and silent system? Do you think it did any good for the prisoners? State 2 reasons with good explanation. So the separate system and silent system, do you think it was good? So if it is good, give 2 reasons and a good explanation. If you think the silent systems are bad, okay, then give 2 reasons with good explanation. Now you have come to the end of this topic. So for activity 4, as usual, you have to create a mind map for this topic. Okay, you are allowed to choose any forms of map. You can either do bubble map, you can do fish map, or you can even do a spider web map. Okay, it all will it all depends on how you want to do it. Okay, but make sure you have important aspects of the punishment, because we are talking mostly all about punishments that were imposed during the 18th and 19th century, right? So I want that map to be fully about the punishments. Okay, you can also include, perhaps you can include opinions, okay, and views of how or what you think about the punishment. All right, guys. So please complete activity 1, 2, and 3, and 4 in a piece of paper or an exercise book.